We can play it first.
How about we play it first?
We're going to play it first.
We'll give him a sample.
All right. You want to start it first, or you want me to just...
Sure. Yeah. Let's see.
There you go. Something like that.
Steve.
Something like that for our about 10 seconds of rehearsal before this started. Wonderful.
Very nice, yeah. Wasn't sure how long we were going to take that.
Yeah, well, I was going to go, another 10 minutes.
I would have listened. Yeah.
We have already, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in. We already have some questions coming out. Run 27.2 is saying, is that a Paul Reed Smith guitar with signature Flying Bird fret inlays?
Yeah, this is a Paul Reed Smith DGT. That's the David Grissom model. And it's fantastic. Yeah, that's all I can say about it. Yeah, this is the David Grissom worked closely, with Paul Reed Smith for a number of years
Yeah.
to make his signature model, which is a little bit different than Paul's own kind of
Pickup configuration.
yeah, pickup configuration. So, this one's got 2 humbuckers in it, and then you can split it. And
Can you show us some of the sounds that it
Yeah.
has?
can I turn this up a
Yeah,
bit?
Yep. He is running through just an amp we had grabbed here at Gruen Guitars, just a regular old Fender Deluxe. Great sounding little amp.
So that's your typical, humbucker. That's a little too loud. But then, you can split it, Then you can
Good.
do your neck pickup stuff, Or you can split that as well,
Now, for our listeners, when you say split, what is it actually doing?
So you can run these as humbuckers or single coils, which is nice.
And that's a nice little variation in the tone. So it's not quite a single coil Strat kind of sound, but you can fake it pretty good.
It's actually like a combination of a Les Paul and a Telly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful instrument. We're so glad to have Desi with us. Desi is the author. So many of you are probably familiar with Desi's work. Desi is the author of 2 in the guitar series of the Dummies series, the Guitar Theory for Dummies, and then the new one, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, is the Guitar Rhythm and Technique.
That one just came out. It's hitting the store shelves right now. It's available on Amazon and other online retailers.
Yeah. How did you get started thinking about guitar theory and putting together fretboard combinations and things like that?
You mean how did I get started with those books, or do
Just
you want me
in
to take it
general.
all the way back to
Take
the
it all the way-
beginning?
Take it all the way back. How was that? How did you come up with that sort of training?
Well, I was a guitar geek at a young age. Right?
And you're from Toledo.
Yeah, I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
That's where I was born and raised. And so, when I was a teenager, I had the stupid idea that I thought I'm gonna make a career out of playing guitar. And actually, right out of the gate, I wanted to teach guitar, I wanted to play gigs, and I wanted to write my own books. Because I just kind of had that sort of mindset. So I taught guitar lessons for years in Toledo, and I gigged for years all around the Toledo area and the Detroit area. Toledo is just an hour south of Detroit, and played around Michigan quite a bit. And any sort of engagement where, they were paying musicians, I was there to play. So I ended up developing a lot of experience teaching and playing. And then I started to kind of create some of my own methods. I kind of saw a disconnect at the time between some of the guitar methods that were on the market and what I was actually doing and thinking when I was on the gig.
Yeah.
So a lot of books out there, if you are going to study music, they kind of take a traditional formal approach.
Yep.
Which certainly does have its place and its value, but I was discovering that a lot of my students, we were covering material in lessons, but then when they would see me play, they'd be like, "But you're doing something a little bit different when you play. I want to know what's going on in your head when you're playing." And so I kind of started to teach them, well, this is what I'm thinking, and this is how most kind of pro players would think about music. And out of that, I ended up creating a series called Fretboard Theory. You actually have some copies there.
The Fretboard Theory series.
And I'm sure I have a lot of Fretboard Theory customers tuning in. Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll comment here. And if for those of you that are familiar with this book, you know that one of the things that I do is I emphasize popular music. I mean, as you flip through the pages, you just see, song reference after song reference, and this guitar player uses this type of pattern and that sort of thing. So rather than taking kind of a more formal approach, it's a more hands-on approach to just teach people what kind of patterns and what kind of patterns do most guitar players use? What's going through the mind of your average guitar player when they're riffing and jamming, and what kind of musical elements are actually used in the songs that we're familiar with.
Right.
With all due respect to other genres of music, classical and jazz and that sort of thing, most guitar players, myself included, are more familiar with classic rock, and a lot of the famous guitar players. So, we want to know what they're using.
Yeah. What I thought, as I've been kind of getting more and more familiar with Desi's approach to it, it's wonderful. I can't say enough about it. I love the fact that you're using the popular songs. I love the fact that you're taking, because I approach it a little bit more from a standard notation, kind of working your way, more of a traditional approach. And Desi's approach is more of learning the patterns and how it connects on the fretboard. And I think it's a wonderful balance, because I was looking through your stuff and I thought, well, this is just great. This takes what sometimes can get rather thick coming from a traditional approach to understand, and it takes folks a long time to where they get enough competence on the instrument that they feel good about their playing, and it kind of is a good marriage between the two. So I am thoroughly, I love what you're doing with all this stuff.
I think we had some.
We got a lot of questions
coming
up. Skip Disc is asking, "Hey Desi, I'm working my way through Fretboard Theory 2, and find the second chapter challenging, especially regarding renumbering with modes. Talk about that. Any suggestions for that? Well, first of all, what's covered in that section, and what do you mean by renumbering with modes?"
One of the things that I do in the first volume of Fretboard Theory, which is, and it's one of the things that's really helped the book become successful, and I hope I'm able to get this idea across here without getting too much into the detail, is that since modes are all drawn from the major scale,
right?
I kind of get people playing modes in a roundabout way where I show them major scale patterns. I show them how to harmonize the scale, to create your chords and play by numbers. And then I explain to them that, you don't have to, music doesn't have to center on the first degree. You can center on any degree. You can center on the second degree, the third degree. And, each degree of the major scale, when it becomes the primary chord, the main, the tonic, as you would say, it changes the sound and the mood, and that's where you get modes, So I teach them those underlying concepts first, so they're kind of essentially playing modes before I say, oh, by the way, that's modes. And I do that because normally when modes are taught, guitar players, myself included, we learn them as separate scales with different scale structures. And I could not
wrap. Always so confused.
I couldn't wrap my mind around that for years. And then one day I thought, wait a minute, these are all this is all major scale patterns. They're all the same chords. I'm just focusing on a different degree. So I don't bother teaching modes that way where you teach it all as separate scales and different scale structures. But there are reasons why you would want to think of them that way. So in Fretboard Theory Volume 2, the second chapter, I explain how instead of always thinking of the notes from as you're in a mode, always thinking of it as they relate to the relative major, I explain how if you're in Dorian mode and you're focusing on the second degree, what does it look like if you renumber and you kind of re-examine the scale structure and the chord structure from there? Right. Now, a lot of my readers get hung up on that chapter because they can successfully play modes and they don't need to have all that flat this and sharp that going on in their head. However, in order to progress to some higher levels of theory, you need to understand that perspective. So I would say to the person that asked that question,
Skip Disc.
Be patient with that chapter, and once you get the idea, in the following chapters in Volume 2 there, you get into things like modal interchange and key changes. So that's where you need to start thinking about the interval structures. You need to start thinking about modes and chord progressions within modes as having their own kind of unique structure. Especially if you're familiar with, modal mixture or modal interchange, where you'll have a primary pitch, but you'll interchange different scales. So you might be using, the A major scale with the A minor scale or the A Dorian scale. And so you want to kind of, we have to figure out how are we going to name those chords, and how are we going to properly identify their interval structure.
Right.
So hang in there. when you get to some of the other chapters, it's going to click. So I'm preparing you for those chapters.
What I thought was great in the fretboard theory books is not only do you give the scales and the modes and things like that, but there's also musical examples, so well researched musical examples of, in this song, it's a good example of playing within this mode, or a good example of hearing how it sounds. I wanted to, because I can hear coming back at me right now, people going, I don't know what in the world they're talking about. So here in 2 minutes, we're going to give you a quick little lesson on what modes are and how they relate to the major scale, just like you were talking about. So let's say if we were in C major, okay? So if I'm just doing a regular open C major scale, okay? That's actually, just think of it like a number line. It actually keeps going up. It'll keep going, and it can keep going down until it'll keep going in both directions. So it's a pattern of notes. Now we can start on that C, forms a major scale, but the mode, the weird sounding mode name for that is
Ionian mode.
Ionian mode. If we go, but that same pattern of notes, we can start in a different place. So we can start, let's say, on the D part of that number line. So then I would play. Very common mode, and a song that's a great example of something played in the Dorian mode would be...
Well, I was playing a little bit of the Doors, Light My Fire. It's not in that particular key, but it does feature that Dorian mode. That whole solo section it's actually a Dorian mode. So that means you're actually using notes and chords from the G major scale, but everything is centering on the second degree
A minor. So that A minor would be basically the one chord, the main chord in that key. And you could do this for all of those. You can start on the third. If I start on the third step, going back to C major, if I start on the third step, that would be in going from E to E. So it almost gets a Mediterranean kind of Spanish sort of feel to it.
Right.
Used a little bit less common. That's called the Phrygian mode. You don't hear that used as much often. And if I go the next step up and I'm still in the key of C, but I'm going to start on F on my little number line.
Oh, I got a good one for this one.
Okay.
Ready? Actually, can you give me these chords?
Sure. What are you doing?
Just F major 7 and like a G6. Yeah. Whoops. Let's try that again. Ready? We keep going. Keep going.
Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't say anything. What's the name of that song, all of you guitar wizards out there who lived through the 80s? Hey, we have had their guitar player on this show, so somebody has got to come up with this. Who's going to come up with this first? It is Fleetwood Mac. Someone's got the band. It is Fleetwood Mac. What is the name of the song?
Dreams. Randy 120 got it.
Dreams. Very good. Yeah. That would be in the, what are we at? Lydian mode.
Yeah.
So it would be going like from, well, we're in the key of G, so...
C.
We're in C. We're still in C. That's right. So
We're using notes and chords from the C major scale, but we're centering on the 4th degree F. I was
The
actually
F.
playing an F to a G,
Yeah.
right?
It's a very distinctive sound. So it's still a major sound, but you have that extra, that raised fourth sort of a feel to it.
Can I point something out
Please.
here? What I want to point out that we are using the same notes and the same chords and the same patterns
Right.
for all of these modal examples. It's all C. To play in C Ionian mode or D Dorian mode or E Phrygian mode or F, we're going up the scale here, F Lydian mode, you do not need to learn a new set of, you don't have to learn Ionian patterns, Dorian patterns, Phrygian patterns. They're actually all based on major scale patterns.
Yeah,
so
the key of C.
if you want to play in F Lydian mode, which is drawn from C, you can use any C major scale patterns. You just realize that C is not your primary pitch anymore.
Yeah.
The 4th degree F is, but you can use the same patterns.
Yeah. And that's basically how modes work. And wow, I agree 100%. Learning modes by scale steps life is way too short to do half steps and whole steps and whole steps. And a major scale is 2 wholes and a half, but a Phrygian scale would be half. Wow, you'll get really confused quick.
Yeah, and then a lot of guitar players think, okay, well, I have to then map out separate patterns,
Yeah.
not realizing that they're actually just putting together, major scale patterns. But in my book, Fretboard Theory Volume 2, I do get into examining the scale structures of each mode as if it were a separate scale, renumbering the chords,
Right.
calling the primary chord 1,
Right.
and then renumbering the chords from there. There are reasons why you'd want to do that
Right.
as you get into higher forms of music theory. But I avoided in the first book just because after years of teaching, it works. And if you read a lot of my Amazon reviews, people will say, man, I really struggled with modes. I just couldn't wrap my mind around them until I got Desi's book,
Yeah.
and it's so simple and it's so cool,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
digging all these sounds that I'm making.
Yeah, it's a quick way. Once you kind of understand the reference point, it's a quick way to get a lot of wild sounds in your playing. By just in your brain, you're just thinking in another key, and you're applying those notes and these patterns to the chords.
And what most people don't realize is that everything is in a mode. Everything is going to relate to the major scale somehow. So it's not like you're learning some sort of exotic technique to do something out of the ordinary. We just played, Fleetwood Mac, for example. We played some Doors.
Yeah.
So everything is going to relate to a mode and relates back to the major scale, whether people have realized that or not.
Right. Cool. Any more? And if you have any questions, please put it up there. Our producer is trying to keep up with this. 7 Bridges.
Hey, someone's got the book because I recognize that.
Music Love is saying 7 Bridges Road by the Eagles in D Mixolydian.
Correct. So, Steve, are you going to sing for us?
I'm not much of a singer, but I'll play whatever you want me to play.
So 7 Bridges Road is using notes and chords out of the G major scale. Right? But it centers on the 5th degree, D. Right? So what's the melody? There are stars, right? Stars in the southern sky. So you've got D, C, G, back to D, right? So if you're thinking of that out of G, that's 5, 4, 1, D. And you can play your G major scale patterns and just center on D and however, once you get to a certain point, you can learn how to renumber that. What if you take the same notes and chords from the G scale, but let's call D1 since it is functioning as our tonic primary pitch. How then would you look at the scale structure and the chords? In that case, you would call D chord 1.
Yeah.
The C becomes a flat 7.
Flat 7.
G is the 4 chord.
Right.
and then you're back to D, which is
Right.
1. And actually, when you hear that song, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing a tonic pitch, you're hearing a drop to a flat 7,
Right.
then you're hearing a
Four.
a fourth, and then you're back to a 1.
Back to 1.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
On the fretboard, it's a little confusing to think that way because you're like, well, why do I have to think that way? Why can't I just think G and just use the patterns? Well, you can. That's why I teach it that way in the first book. But when you get to a certain level, there's more to the story.
We had a question going back there saying, what's the difference between the two books, Fretboard Theory 1 and Fretboard Theory 2?
Yeah, well, we kind of got off track, which is fine because we're talking about music here. But let me just back up. So I ended up, this is the book that kind of started it off for me, Fretboard Theory, and became very popular on Amazon. And it's a hands-on approach to guitar theory and understanding popular music. All the songs that we played through here are referenced in here, and many more.
Yeah.
And then I made the volume 2. Okay, this is a little bit thicker. I worked with an editor with this, Thomas Evdokimov. And
that one kind of goes to the next level with it. It kind of
Yeah.
a lot of those concepts.
And with this one, we're going to get a little bit more into theory. I do get a little bit more formal, a little bit more technical. That was kind of the purpose of it, for those that want to get a little bit deeper and get into some other concepts. And anyway, and so these books became very popular, and so Wiley, which is the company that publishes, among other things, all of the For Dummies books. They approached me and they said, hey, we see that you're doing real well with your Fretboard Theory books. Would you mind, authoring a book for us? And of course, I was delighted. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity. So I'm getting back to the story here, the Desi story, and then we'll get back to answering questions. So here's a book, Guitar Theory for Dummies, which actually covers, it's got very similar scope to the Fretboard Theory books. Condensed into one, so the Fretboard Theory books have a little bit more
comprehensive.
But this is still a pretty good, still a very similar scope.
Yeah.
And this book, of course, sold well, so they called me back up and said, okay, you gotta do more for us. So the new book, which is just hitting the stores now, is Guitar Rhythm and Technique for Dummies. I kind of became known as teaching this brand of guitar theory, but I never really dealt specifically with two of the questions that people would ask a lot were in regard to rhythm, developing your sense of time, strumming and strum patterns, the techniques involved with being a good rhythm guitar player. And then I never really dealt much with the physical aspects of playing. So this covers some beginner and intermediate and even some advanced levels of technique, everything from simple things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, and bends to some harp harmonics and that sort of thing. And this book is out right now. And can I plug the giveaway?
Yep, might as well. We are at that time of the show. Yep. So we're gonna give one of those away.
We're going to give away one, and I signed it here. We should get you to sign it too, Steve, because these are your people here. And so we're going to, I don't know how you want to draw that, but I'm going to draw attention to the fact that on my website, if they follow the link that you provided, I've got some gear that I'm giving away in a big promo for this book release.
And your website is?
Well, it's guitarmusictheory.com with hyphens in there.
Yeah, with hyphens in it. Fabian, can you put that up? Fabian is our wonderful unpaid moderator. And someday we're going to have a paid moderator, Fabian, and you're the first in line for it. So we couldn't do the show without you. Actually, we could do it
someday
without you.
We're going to get paid for this?
Hey, be making the big bucks.
Well,
anyway, so Fabian will put up that link for it. And that's your website, which has all kinds of training resources on it.
Yep, and the products are there, and we're doing a big giveaway right now. I'm giving away a Paul Reed Smith guitar. I'm gonna draw winners next week. Just put in your name and email address. I'm giving away a Visual Sound VSXO overdrive pedal. We're both Visual Sound users, and that would be a good time to point out to everyone that they're going through a name change. They're now True Tone. Is the new name, TrueTone.com. I'm giving away a Tech 21 Character Series Liverpool Sans amp,
Yeah.
which I really dig. You can
Yeah.
play direct with it and stuff like that. I'm giving away a version of Guitar Pro, if you're familiar with that
the
program.
notation,
Yeah, that's what we're going to do we're supposed to do a little lesson on our E minor progression that we opened up
We'll talk
with.
about that in a minute.
And I did include a Guitar Pro file for people that have that program. But I'm giving away that program, and then I'm also giving away some fret wraps. Do you ever use fret wraps?
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, these little things.
And what do they explain what they do?
Well, you know, sometimes you get a lot of unwanted noise from idle strings and stuff.
When you're doing tapping and stuff like
Or
that.
maybe playing with so
You'll see a lot of guys, they'll have a little scrunchie, a little hair scrunchie up here, and then they'll use that. This is kind of a more formal way to do that.
yeah, so it serves a couple of purposes. You could just do normal playing, and it just kind of helps keep some of the idle string noise quiet to kind of keep your, you know, if you're tracking or something and you want to make sure it's extra clean. But then, you know, for certain techniques, if you're doing, you know, if you do that without it, you know, you could get a lot of extra noise.
Yeah.
So I'm not big into tapping, but a lot of the guys that do the two-hand tapping and stuff like that will use these because it's just a nice tool to have, and it just enables them to do other things. So I kind of got used to using it too, and it's a nice tool to have.
Yeah.
So we're giving away some of those. All you have to do is just join the forum on the website. I'm going to draw winners next Tuesday. And yes, someone already asked me this. Yes, someone really is going to get a PRS guitar. It's an SC Santana. I did this for the last book giveaway. I gave away a guitar, and someone was delighted.
Yeah.
Someone's going to win it.
Well, let's give away something right now. Let's give away the, grab one of the books.
Well, I'm going to give away a copy of the new one, Rhythm and Technique for Dummies, and I'm also giving away a copy of the Guitar Theory one, too.
Okay. All right, let's give away the Guitar Theory one. Okay, so the winner of this one is Country Blues, CNTRYBLUES, Country Blues. You have just won Guitar Theory for Dummies, and you've already autographed that, so that's wonderful. Send us your information, Country Blues, at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and mailing address and whatnot, and I will get that over to you, and we can get that out to them, and we will give that one away in just a minute. We'll give that one away at the end.
Oh, sorry.
Let's give that one away at the end.
Okay.
Hey, I've got a couple of announcements. As long as we're talking about things to give away, our good friends over at Visual Sound, now True Tone, who I was over with them just before, on my way to this show, I was over there picking up this pedal. We are doing a new giveaway. I love giving away stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's just fun. Companies are wonderfully gracious to be able to provide giveaways, and it's a lot of fun for you guys. So if last week we gave away a Fishman Aura Spectrum from our good friends over at Fishman, and Sam from Texas won that, and he was thrilled. I gave him a call. He was thrilled. This was great. Someone is going to win this next live lesson, which is going to be in 2 weeks. The end of this month is going to win their new double pedal, the Route 66, which they've had before, but this is a new. It's been completely redesigned in a new housing. If you want to look underneath the Ustream window, there's kind of a greenish-looking button there. You can sign up for this. All we need is your first name, your email address. If you want to throw in your birthday, that's great too, because we'll send you something on your birthday. There you go. So if you're interested, sign up for this. Great pedal. We gave away acoustic thing last time. Thought I'd give away an electric something or other this time.
That's the one that's basically half over. Well, no, it's a full overdrive and a full compressor.
Yeah, it's the Route 66 part of it is the compressor side, which actually I have the compressor side in their old pedal, the Comp 66, which is great. If that thing died, I would get another one tomorrow. It has become such a key part of my sound, and that pedal is in here, and on the other side is their American Overdrive, fantastic overdrive that's on the other side, and it's all, you can adjust it a gazillion different ways and mix your clean sound in. Bob and the guys, they did a great job with these. Anyway, someone's going to win this, so please sign up on the that greenish button underneath there. Also, we had mentioned this last time, and we still have a few of these left. If you want to, if you go to the middle button, it's our store button, and I think it's in gear or something like that. We got a great deal on these G7th capos, fantastic capo, gold special edition, comes with a little tin to put these in. If you're interested in these, quite a few folks took us up on these. I only have a limited quantity of these, so if you're interested, please don't hesitate on that to get that for the guitar player in your life. There you go. Do that. All right, let's talk. We've only got a few more minutes left. I want to get to that. Let's talk a little bit about that progression that we were doing earlier on.
Yeah, so we opened up with a progression in E minor.
And so those 4 chords are 5 chords.
Well, let's break it down. We'll teach it in
Sure.
some simple steps. So, okay, if we want to go back to basic chords here, E minor, right? G, a form of A, and then the C, and then a B7 at the end. But we kind of jazzed it up a bit, so it sounded like this.
Good.
So, and by the way, we've got tab and some
even
neck diagrams
the
as
chord diagrams as well is part of that, so you can download those as well.
So with these unique fingerings and the introduction of some other notes, we actually get, what do we have here? E minor 7, add 2. I wasn't sure what to call this chord actually, because you might think, well, why not call it E9?
E minor 9th, that's what I would kind of call that. Yeah.
But technically the second is before the third there. So I don't know.
You do have that flat 7 in there too, so that would.
So I would think that if, boy, we're really geeking out here. I would think that if the F sharp were extended beyond the 7th, then maybe I'd call it 9. I don't know.
Yeah.
With some things,
It's just not in guitar world. The naming of chords, I wish I could say it's consistent. It's not. There, in some situations, you will see it written just as you have an E minor 7 add 2. I've seen other things where it's an E minor 9th. It just depends.
So we get this neat sound with some open strings, and you've got that second and the minor third there, and then you add your G, the root G for the. This is like a form of G major 7 there. And here's what am I playing here? That's just an A sus2. Yeah, just a weird form of A sus2. That C is straight out of a bar chord, and so is the B7. And normally, and I heard you doing it, you could extend that instead of just playing a regular B7. You could have a augmented, or even a something like that. Or you might even
do a sharp 9, flat 9, all that sort of stuff. Especially on that 5 chord, you can just add everything in the kitchen sink to it.
Yeah, and sometimes you may not put it in the chord, but you put it in your lead line. You know, right? So, so it was just kind of a fun little jam progression, and then we were kind of playing it using some kind of mutes and slaps. A la John Mayer or Ben Lacey, if you're familiar with, Ben, whoops. So I notated it where I kind of put some of those slaps, and if I slow it down. Sometimes I slap at the end there, so you can have that slap on the backbeat, you know. Oops. So we it's a nice little jam. You can play E minor pentatonic over it because your primary chord is E minor. You could play the full E minor scale because it is out of E minor. And then also, because you have that B7 in there with the D sharp, you can play harmonic minor as well. Over the B7.
Over the B7.
Just the B7. At the end of the progression there, right? Right. So it's just kind of fun to play with. You can get jazzy with it, like you were doing very well, or you can just do straight out minor pentatonic rock over it.
Yeah. Let's play it one more time. And I want to just talk through some different ideas, because you can superimpose these things a bunch of different ways. So he mentioned, Desi was talking about using the E minor pentatonic. So I'm going to do the progression, and I'll play kind of E minor pentatonic stuff over it, and then we'll switch that around, and we'll see if we can get some different sounds using some other pentatonics.
Here we go.
So I'm going to use just pure E minor pentatonic. Pure E minor pentatonic. Keep going, keep going. Okay, now I'm going to go to a B minor pentatonic. Okay, so I'm going to do a B minor pentatonic over his E minor chord. Kind of twist the ear a different way, but actually I'm playing the same licks. I'm just thinking of them over a B minor.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else could you do over this progression?
So you play just E minor pentatonic and B minor pentatonic?
Would you B minor? Yeah. I could just switch it to, I could just keep going up I could do G major. I could do D major. I could do F sharp minor pentatonic, but I'm going to start getting it clashes with that C sharp there. So that C sharp's going to kind of twist it a little bit.
You're not going to get many gigs with that scale, right?
But you can add the blues notes to those pentatonics.
Yeah. So most players are going to usually opt for E minor pentatonic or the blues scale, or you can go full E minor scale, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can put those licks together. Some players will use a minor pentatonic, but maybe instead of filling in with a full minor scale, they might just add the second or something, and then just think regular pentatonic, and then where players are going to really add a lot of interest here. Let me stop this for a second. We had it in the loop. Then it's over that 5 chord.
Yeah.
Here's where you want to renumber.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking of, even though E minor is drawn from G major for my fretboard theory readers, and you could think of it as the 6th chord, in this case, better to think of it as the minor 1 chord.
Right.
Okay. Which means that B7 is the dominant 5 chord, and that's where you can do all sorts of fun stuff.
Yep.
You can raise the D sharp in the scale. You can raise the D to D sharp, so you get the harmonic minor sound. Right? Yeah. And you just kind of get more tension, more color, and then you can think other things from there. I like to think of a diminished chord,
Yeah.
An easy way to get started with that, if this is kind of a little over your head, is as you're playing in E minor, whether you're thinking pentatonic or you're thinking full scale, keep track of your tonic pitch E, right? And when you get to the end of the progression, drop it a half step. That's D sharp, which is the 3rd of the B7 chord, and that's going to produce the harmonic minor sound, even though you may not be playing the whole scale, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like that? Well, I slipped it in there a little bit, right? So that's kind of an easy way. Just drop E to D sharp at the end, and you can. I teach that in the books before I teach people the full harmonic minor scale, which can be kind of difficult to keep track of all at once. I get them started on the sound by just saying, when you're in a minor key, just drop your tonic pitch a half step when you're on that 5 chord.
Yeah.
And it sounds so cool, because that's not normally a note that's in your scale.
Right. It's fascinating. I think this is so fascinating to just think about the different things that you could put over these various chords. Everything pretty much stays around that E minor, G major feel until we hit that D sharp in that 5.
In the B7
In
chord.
that B7. That's the one that twists it out. So if you can remember anything, hit that D sharp on the B7, and folks will think you're playing the changes. And you can, the rest of the time you can slink around E minor and G major.
That's a good point. You're kind of outlining the progression. You're targeting a chord tone there on that B7. So you create that sound. You know, a lot of good jazz players, they don't just play, lead lines. All their lead lines are targeting chord tones.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of that sound where you're really playing over the chords just by targeting that one note.
Yeah, yeah. It's fascinating. I love, and if the chord changers are coming too fast for you, and you're trying to actually kind of hear what's going on, just slow them down. Slow them down. You can slow them way down, just to let your mind and your ear be able to kind of hear where that tone needs to go. And you can slow your ideas way down. So I play that progression again, just like, repeating several bars of the same chord or something like that.
At this new tempo? Or
the slower tempo and just... Okay, so while Desi's playing that, I'm just going to force my ideas to be slower. So if you don't always feel like you have to go to be playing everything in that pentatonic scale, you'll get lost in patterns. Let your ear guide what those patterns are doing, so you're creating something musical along the way. Right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Okay, a couple of more questions, and then we've got to land this ship. Steve, are you really just changing the which note? Are you changing which note you focus on as the root of the scale you are playing? Country blues, yes, I do that a lot. So even as we're playing that little groove that we were just doing, I in my head am thinking various tonal centers, and I get each one of those kind of twist the ear a different way. And it's just kind of a mental game for me.
Can I answer some of these
Please,
questions?
yeah.
This is Run 27.2. He's noticing that the one way you can learn how to cover the neck with major scale patterns is you can form patterns that have 3 notes per string.
Right. Which we talk about that. We cover that in our course.
Yeah. And then there end up being 7 patterns that connect as you move up the fretboard, and then they repeat, each one starting on a different degree of the major scale. So, for example, if you're an F, 1, right? There's more to it than that, but and he's noticing that each one could correspond to each mode. So when you're in a particular mode, if you're in a mode that centers on the 2nd degree, well, then you would start in that 2nd pattern.
Right.
I'm not sure what you teach, and you can correct me if you have a different perspective. But the reality is that modes are not actually patterns. In other words, if I'm in F, if I want to play in G Dorian mode, which is the second mode, F major scale, then I use notes of F. It doesn't matter where they're located on the fretboard. It doesn't matter what pattern it is. For example, here we go. Okay, Evil Ways by Santana is right. I believe that's in G Dorian mode. So it's a G minor chord and a C major chord, right? And that's a characteristic Dorian mode sound. Steve can play any F major scale pattern, any 3-note per string or other pattern. It doesn't matter which one you're in. F major notes over this progression makes the Dorian mode sound. You're not going to change it, the mode.
I'm just thinking in F, just playing things in F.
Right. So I hope that answers your question, run 27.2. But that major scale notes are major scale notes.
Yeah.
And one of the problems we have as guitar players is we always think in patterns. You know, well, if I'm in this key, I have to use this pattern. But you want to start to think about the notes and how they really relate.
Right. Fantastic. I want you to also. I think it's important to understand music. I mean, I approach it kind of the way it processes in my mind. Desi is approaching it how it processes in his mind, but we're all talking about the same thing. So like I'm looking at it from one side of it, he's looking at it from another side of it, but we're talking about the same concept. So even though you can approach things from a lot of different perspectives, we could explain all of this sort of stuff by just looking at sheer music theory of it, which is a different way to do it. Yeah, and we're still describing the same thing. So don't think that one way is, contrary to what another way is. It's just we're all looking at the same musical concept and describing it in different ways. We could describe it mathematically. We could describe it with patterns within a scale or patterns underneath our fingers. We could describe it using musical notation. How'd we get off on that stuff? Okay, let's land this ship.
I was going to say, what's really irritating, though, is that those really good, the best players, they don't think about it at all. Man, they just go.
Yeah.
Because they're just blessed with this, incredible talent and amazing ears, The rest of us, we have to kind of work it out.
Think it out. We have to think about it a little bit more. Okay, let's talk about a couple things. And then we're going to give away one more of the guitar theory books. Our guitar conference, our guitar gathering conference, which is July 8th, I think we've officially locked it down, Wednesday, July 8th through Saturday, July 11th here in Nashville. It's been on, it's been off, it's been on, it's been off. It is officially, I signed the papers today with the hotel. We are officially having the conference. It is going to be July 8th through the 11th here in Nashville. I signed the papers at a new hotel because things fell through at the second hotel. And the first hotel, you guys would appreciate this. The first hotel, which was the original hotel that we did our guitar conference at several years ago, we've done a couple of them there at the Holiday Inn down on, right on Lower Broadway. It's walking distance from NAMM and all the fun things we want to go to. And we couldn't get it to work out. Their prices were high and the availability wasn't there. And I thought, gosh, why isn't this working out? You know what I read in the paper this morning? That hotel had a huge fire yesterday. And so it's a good thing we didn't book our conference there. So it was a major deal. Front page of the paper today. So we are at actually a different hotel now, but that is locked in. So we will probably put up a registration page in the next couple of days here, but if you want to go ahead and lock in, be watching the thread on the discussion board, and I'll tell you which hotel it is. Just mention Guitar Gathering, and you can get the Guitar Gathering rate for the conference. And come, we're going to get you guys into NAMM, the summer NAMM, the Saturday show, which is the one day in the entire year that NAMM is open to the regular public. So we're going to get you guys into that. Jack Pearson has a wonderful show from the Allman Brothers. He's got a show going on Wednesday night, that July 8th. July 9th, the Thursday, we're going to switch our live lesson for that week and put it on Thursday. So we'll have a live lesson that Thursday that everybody can come to. The Friday night, July, whatever that is, 10th, I just was emailing Muriel Anderson, and she is putting together the Muriel Anderson All-Star Guitar Night. They're going to have a salute to Noki Edwards, and that's going to be going on that Friday. So we've got something lined up for you every night of those 4 days. NAMM is on the Saturday. I'm trying to work out with Gibson a tour of the Gibson USA plant here, which they do not give tours. And so we're trying to work out to where we can get our group in there. But if you're interested, check on the thread on our discussion board, and we will get you that hotel information, and you need to register or to lock in pay for your hotel and do all that sort of stuff in the next few weeks to lock it in at the conference rate. So I will get you more information on that, but it is official. So if you're thinking about coming to Nashville during that time, it's NAMM week. Just about a whole bunch of the best musicians in the world are going to be descending on Nashville that week. Also, the Chet Atkins Convention is going on that same week, too. So there's lots of things going on that week. So stay tuned for that. But it is officially on, I can say. So that's good. We'll be having workshops, and who knows who might show up for that. All right. Couple of closing announcements. The next live lesson we will have will be May 26th. Not next week, but the week after that, we will have another live lesson, and that's the week that we will be giving away the Route 66 pedal. I tried to get the fellow who actually demonstrates this pedal. You can see his fantastic video. Sean Tubbs. Do you know Sean by any chance?
Not
Sean
yet.
is the guitarist for Carrie Underwood. We were going to have him lined up for that show in 2 weeks, but Carrie started rehearsals again, so he has to be with that. So we're going to try and get him the next
See where
week.
his priorities are.
There you go. I mean, live lessons we're talking here. So anyway, we're trying to get him the next week. So anyway, we look forward to having Sean Tubbs with us. We put up some new lessons over at Gibson Skills House this week. They've got up a lesson I did on choosing the right acoustic guitar, picking the right one for you, thinking about what you need to do size-wise and things like that. I've got a style lesson over there, a figure style lesson, working with sixths, incorporating sixths into your playing. It's always amazing to me. I can go into recording sessions, and I've got all this electric stuff, and I've got all these pedals and things like that, and 4 different electric guitars, and when it actually comes down to what actually makes it on the recording, it's usually me grabbing my nylon string and playing something in sixth, you know. I can do all this stuff on electric. It means nothing. I play one little simple lick on a nylon string with 6, and they go nuts, and that ends up being on the thing. So there you go. I talk about that there. We have a power workout, major scale workout. It's great that we've been talking about that over there as well, giving you a simple exercise of playing every major scale within one position. And then I would go to my second finger and play a major scale. I'm going to avoid doing the third because it's just an awkward way of doing it. So I skip to the fourth finger. Anyway, and takes you through every major scale in one position. A very helpful little exercise for getting these patterns underneath your fingers. And the last one, we have an artist interview with our good friend Will McFarlane, Musicians Hall of Fame guitarist for the Swampers, the Muscle Soul Rhythm section, and an artist interview that I have with Will. So there you go. I think I've made all the announcements that I need to make. Let's give away this book. This is the Guitar Rhythm and Technique
for dummies. So if you're already smart about these things, well, this isn't the book for you then.
The winner of this is Randy120. Randy120. You have just won this. Send me your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we can get you, send me your mailing address, things like that, and I'll get that information, and we'll send it off to you as well. Now, one of the things that Desi and I had talked about is I love the Fretboard Theory series, which is a little bit more comprehensive than what is in the Dummies series. This actually comes with DVDs and things as well with it for many of the sessions?
The books don't come with DVDs, but the books are available on DVD.
Okay.
And since I publish these myself, I have control over distribution. The Dummies books are out of my hands, of course. The publisher deals with that. So maybe we can work out something where you can make these books available. And maybe we can get some special pricing and stuff. And maybe we could talk more about them. I saw that there were quite a few questions that came up, people asking about the difference between these books or how they compare specifically to the Dummies books. So maybe we could come back and talk more about that. People are welcome to email me or contact me on social media if they want to get some immediate answers to any of those questions that we missed.
Right.
But I think we're going to be getting together here at some point.
In a few weeks, we'll do another lesson with Desi. We'll work out this whole thing to where we can offer the Fretboard Theories series as well. So it should be great. Thank you, Desi.
Thank you, Steve.
We met in a very odd way, I must admit. I was familiar with Desi's work, of course, with the Guitar for Dummies stuff, but my wife and I were walking in Target here in Nashville, and
I'm like, that looks so much like that Steve guy, the learning master guitar guy. And I thought, nah. And I thought, no, I think that is. So I said, Steve, we had not met before, but we do live in the same town.
Yeah.
And so, hey, but that's how it works around here.
That's how
right?
it works in Nashville.
I just ran into it at Walmart.
Yeah. We were
the other
day. So I'm so glad that you have gotten to be part of our little guitar family. Look forward to doing many more things in the future. Let's play something as we're going out. You want to do just kind of maybe a blues and E or something like that?
We could, or we did so much discussion with modes. Do
you want to do something in modes?
Maybe, you want to get back to the Santana that we had going there?
Sure.
So
you start the groove, and then I'll copy it, and then you can do...
Okay, I'm thinking Evil Ways here, and I believe it's just... You got it? Okay. Five chord in there.
There you go. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep up the great work on your own guitar learning. If you're ever in Nashville, look us up. We would love to meet you. We'll see you next time.